In this English pronunciation lesson, we're focused 100% on the most common sound in English, the schwa. Arguably, it's also the most important, especially when it comes to natural sounding speech. Now, if you're thinking, the schwa? What is that? I've never heard of it before. Don't worry, I've got you. In this Confident English lesson today, you're going to learn what is the schwa in English, why is it so important, and 2 essential rules for using the schwa. Along the way, you'll learn 8 ways to apply those 2 rules, so you'll easily recognize words in which you should be using the schwa sound. And the great news is, learning to use the schwa correctly will not only help you with natural sounding speech in English, but it will also help you better understand fast English speakers. But before I say any more about that, very quickly, let me introduce myself, just in case this is your first time here. I'm Anne-Marie with Speak Confident English. Everything I do is designed to help you get the confidence you want for your life and work in English. One way I do that is by sharing my weekly Confident English lessons. These lessons focus on fluency and confidence building strategies, in-depth grammar training, and accurate pronunciation training, just like in this lesson today. You can find all my lessons and follow me every week at my Speak Confident English website and on my Speak Confident English YouTube channel as well. So while you're watching this lesson, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss my future lessons. Now, let's get back to the schwa. I mentioned briefly that understanding the schwa will help you understand fast English speakers. And this lesson is actually part of an entire series I have on better understanding fast English speakers. You can get all of those lessons, for example, on assimilation, dropped sounds, and more, by checking out my Fast English Speaker series. I'll leave a link to that playlist in the notes below. And now, I want you to sit down, get comfortable, and let's learn everything you need to know about the schwa, why it's important, and how you can use it. We're going to start at the beginning. What exactly is the schwa? As you'll learn, the schwa is the most common vowel sound in English, and it's what we call a reduced vowel sound. In other words, it's really lazy. It doesn't like to do a lot of work. The reason it's the most common is the schwa sound can replace vowels in a word. It can replace any vowel, an A, E, I, O, or U sound, and you'll see examples of that as we continue through this lesson. Now, you might be thinking, do I really need to know this? Can't I just use the normal vowel sounds? Well, you could. However, the schwa is used to convey the correct stress and rhythm of the English language, and that's why it's so important. We'll talk much more about stress in English, but before we go there, let's talk about what the schwa sounds like. The schwa sound typically sounds like uh. Notice that everything is relaxed when I make that sound. My jaw, my lips, everything. In writing, the symbol that we use to represent the schwa is this symbol. However, typically in writing, you don't see the schwa. For example, in the word helmet, you don't see the schwa written. However, you do hear it. Listen again. Helmet, helmet. That second E has an sound. Helmet, helmet. This is exactly what makes the schwa so challenging, the fact that we don't see it in writing. When you learn a new word and you learn that word in writing, you see it with all the vowels we have in English. But in spoken communication, it's there. Here's another example. When you learn the word content, for example, I feel content. In that word, you see the O vowel. But in spoken communication, we hear the schwa, content, content. Remember the sound, content. Before we learn the 2 essential rules for using the schwa, let's talk about how this is related to better understanding fast English speakers. The schwa is used in unstressed syllables, which we're going to learn much more about in a moment. And when used, it's said faster with lower volume than you might hear in stressed syllables in speaking. What that means is the schwa reduces the amount of time it takes to say a vowel in the word. And as a result, when English speakers use it, it sounds like they're speaking faster. The amount of time needed to speak or say that syllable is reduced. Using the schwa gives the illusion that words are being said more quickly. Learning to recognize the schwa in spoken communication and learning to use it is going to help you in multiple ways. First, it will strengthen your listening skills. It will help you get familiar with the stressed, timed nature of the English rhythm. As a result, you'll have improved comprehension with native English speakers, and you'll be able to produce these sounds as well for natural sounding speech. So let's talk about rule number 1 using the schwa. The schwa is used in unstressed syllables. To understand this rule and to apply it, it is essential to understand the difference between stressed and unstressed syllables. And this can be a challenge because not everyone can initially hear the difference between stressed and unstressed sounds in English. So let me share with you an example that I learned many years ago to help you recognize the difference. When I was a kid, I loved playing outside with my neighborhood friends. During the summer, we would often be outside playing hide and seek or kickball. And when it was time to go home for dinner, or if it was during the school year and it was time for me to go home to do my homework, I would see my mom or dad come outside, stand on the front porch, and yell my name. When they did that, it would sound like this. Anne-Marie, Anne-Marie. Can you hear the unstressed part of my name? Listen again. Anne-Marie. Notice that you don't hear Anne-Marie. Instead, Anne-Marie. The ma of my name is unstressed. That syllable has less emphasis. It's said faster and with lower volume. In fact, you can hear the schwa there. Anne-ma-a-a-re. With that in mind, let's look at 5 specific uses of the schwa in unstressed syllables. Use number 1 is words ending with the vowel A. In words that have more than one syllable and end in the A vowel sound, that final A is typically reduced to a schwa sound. For example, cola, cola, sofa, panda. Here are 4 more words, and I want you to apply that same rule. Use a schwa sound at the end. I'm going to give you a moment to practice each word, and then I'll say it as well so that you can listen and repeat. Number 1, barista, barista. Number 2, freesia. Number 3, persona. Number 4, iguana. Okay, let's transition right into use number 2 because it's very similar. In words with more than one syllable that begin with the letter A, that first syllable can be used with a schwa sound when it's a weak syllable. Let's take a look at some example words. Instead of enunciating an A sound, as in the words day, may, say, we hear schwa at the beginning of these. Ago, atone, away. I want you to give this fourth one a try on your own. Alaska. In use 3, the schwa can be found in the middle of a word when it has more than 2 syllables and when it is a weak syllable. For example, elephant. Listen carefully to the middle syllable. Elephant. Elephant. Dinosaur. Sediment. Elephant, dinosaur, sediment. Look at the spelling of those words. Notice that each one contains a different vowel in the middle syllable, yet we're still using the schwa sound in each one of those. Let's try a few more. This time I want you to say them first, and then you'll hear me say them so that you can listen and repeat. I also want you to think about how many schwa sounds are in the word. So let's try number 1. Algebra. 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 How many schwa sounds do you think we have there? Algebra. 2 schwa sounds. Algebra. Word number 2. Academic. Academic. How many schwa sounds are there? There's just one. Academic. The second syllable. Academic. And number 3. Transatlantic. Transatlantic. Listen one more time and see if you can identify where the schwa is. Transatlantic. It's at the beginning of the word Atlantic. Okay, it's time for use number 4 of using the schwa in unstressed syllables. In this case, the schwa is often used when words end in A-I-N, A-N, or O-N. And it has to be when the syllable is unstressed or a weak syllable. For example, in the word human, the first syllable carries the primary stress and the second syllable is unstressed. Rather than pronounce the second syllable as the word man, as we would in the singular word man, it takes on the schwa. Human, human, human. Using that same rule, how would you pronounce these words? Take a moment to practice. Once again, I'll say them aloud so that you can listen and repeat. So, number 1, what do you think? When we say number 1, you don't hear bargain, you hear bargain, bargain. Number 2, captain, captain. Number 3, reason, reason. And number 4, person, person. Notice in all 4 of those examples, that final unstressed syllable has an sound, that schwa. And now use number 5 for using the schwa in unstressed syllables is with noun suffixes. As a quick reminder, a suffix is added to the end of a word and it changes the form of a word. For example, if I have the verb to compete, when I add shun at the end, it becomes competition, a noun. Shun is a noun suffix. Words that end in a noun suffix and are an unstressed syllable are pronounced as the schwa. Now, in English, we have quite a few noun suffixes. In this video lesson, I'm going to review 3 of them with examples so that you can hear that schwa sound. If you want a full list of noun suffixes in English and examples where you can hear the schwa, I recommend visiting this lesson at my Speak Confident English website. In that lesson, you'll see everything in writing, including 11 noun suffixes that follow this rule. Now, let's get into the first 3 we're going to review together right now. First, nouns ending in shun, T-I-O-N. For example, the word station, station. That first syllable has all the stress. Station, un. This is similar to the word that we just used, competition. The second noun suffix is words that end in ity, as in the noun ability, ability. Notice the I in ity is ability, ability. And the third example, nouns that end in ism, ism. For example, feminism, feminism. Can you think of other example words with those same noun suffixes? Take a moment, write one or two down, practice saying them aloud. You'll notice that schwa sound is present. Now let's transition to the second rule for using the schwa, and we'll look at 3 specific uses of that rule. But before I go there, don't forget, if you want a full list of those noun suffixes with examples, make sure that you visit the Speak Confident English website. And now, rule number 2 for using the schwa. Use the schwa with function words. If you're one of my Fluency School students, you absolutely know what function words are. Function words are words that have a grammatical or structural relationship with other words in a sentence. In other words, they have a job to do. And here are examples of function words in English. Conjunctions such as because, and, but, however. Determiners, for example, your, their. Prepositions, at, on, into, of. Pronouns, for example, anybody, someone. Auxiliary verbs, such as do, does, am. Question words, who, what, when. And qualifiers, somewhat, rather, a little. In English grammar, these are all function words. And when used in a sentence, you'll often hear the schwa. Our first use with this rule is when you have a 1-syllable function word, use the schwa sound. Function words such as to, for, and, the, and so on have vowel sounds that are typically reduced to the schwa sound. And in speaking, this gives the illusion that someone is speaking particularly fast because you don't hear those function words clearly. When you have a function word in isolation, or if someone is intentionally emphasizing the word, then the vowel sounds remain fully intact. For example, if I have this word here, as, in isolation, you hear the full vowel sounds. However, when used in a sentence or in combination with other words, it becomes unstressed, and as a result, you don't hear as, you hear uz. We have that sound, uz. For example, the sentence, I'm not as tall as you. I'm not as tall as you. Listen carefully. You don't hear, I'm not as tall as you. Instead, we have that schwa sound. I'm not as tall as you. I'm not as tall as you. Similarly, let's look at this word. When pronounced in isolation, you'll hear your. However, when used in a sentence, in an unstressed syllable, it's your, your. For example, I'd like to hear your opinion. I'd like to hear your opinion. Let's give this a try with a few example sentences. In each of these sentences, I've highlighted the function word, and I want you to try saying the sentence using the schwa sound. Let's give the first one a try. The cards for me. The cards for me. Instead of for, we have for. I need a cup of coffee. I need a cup of coffee. I need a cup of coffee. And number 3, could you pass me a pen? Could you pass me a pen? Now that you've got that down, this is the perfect time to go into use number 2 of this rule with function words. We use the schwa in reductions with to, one of our function words. In my playlist on how to understand fast English speakers, I've included a full lesson on common reductions in English. Let's revisit that topic briefly. Some words combine with to form reductions. For example, gonna, wanna, gotta. When that reduced form occurs, they also weaken in stress and adopt the schwa sound. So instead of clearly hearing going to, you'll hear gonna, as in this sentence, I'm gonna go to the store. The same is true with have to. Instead of I have to go to the store, we have have to. I have to go to the store. Once again, we have that schwa, to, have to. And lastly, gotta. I gotta go. Now that you have these 2 clear rules of how to use the schwa sound in English and when you should, let's practice. I have a long sentence here for you, and I want you to apply these rules, these uses that you've learned, and see if you can identify all the places where we should use a schwa sound. If you want, you can write this sentence down in a notebook and circle or underline the places where a schwa sound would be used in speaking. Once you've finished, you can take a look at my example sentence with the schwa sounds highlighted in the comments below. Now, to help you, I am going to say this sentence out loud so you can listen carefully for those schwa sounds. Here we go. An elephant walked into the room and spilled the professor's drink on the sofa. Listen again. An elephant walked into the room and spilled the professor's drink on the sofa. Again, you'll find my sentence written out with the schwa sounds in the comments below. If you found this lesson helpful to you, I would love to know. You can tell me in one very simple way. Give this lesson a thumbs up here on YouTube, and while you're at it, subscribe to the Speak Confident English channel so you never miss one of my Confident English lessons. That's the best way to let me know what has been helpful to you so that I can continue to create lessons just like this for you in the future. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.